So inclusion is a national security imperative.
What's threatening America the most? Is it the border crisis? Is it a corrupt administration? Is it a corrupt FBI, CIA? No! It's not enough inclusion. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. Today we got one for you. What you just saw was the highest-ranking trans member of the US Space Force, saying inclusion is a national security imperative. Well, take a look at the full clip from he, her, they, them, their, person, place, or thing in just a second. But first, who is this highest ranking member of Space Force just out brilliantly trying to improve America's national security with the rather intimidating military force of inclusion? Here on Louder with Crowder website, we can just scroll down and get a little bit of intel. Space Force Lieutenant Colonel Bree Fram, 43, claims that inclusion is a national security imperative. Fram is trans, shocker, I couldn't even tell, and uses the platform of Lieutenant Colonel in Space Force to broadcast. Whenever I hear Space Force, I just think of Spaceballs. It's a good movie. Nonetheless, to broadcast the message of trans inclusivity. Thank you for working hard in the U.S. military to bring more inclusivity to the U.S. military. This is helpful. Fram gave these remarks in October when Fram was, now get this is the most hilarious part, when Fram was featured at Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit in October. The brilliance of it, I love it. We're having the most powerful women summit. Who should we have? Probably a man. Seems more powerful than these women, doesn't it? Yeah, bring that man on. He is a more powerful woman than these other women. Look at them. They swim slower, they run slower. They are far less powerful. Here I am. But I wanted to learn more about Lieutenant Colonel Trans B Fram, so I checked out his, her, they, them, person, place, or things Twitter account, and you can see by Fram's own humble admission, Fram is a rocket scientist, author, leadership, inclusion speaker, nerd, some weird flag, opinions my own, I doubt that, you probably heavily propagandized there, Fram, but nonetheless, Lieutenant Colonel, Space Force, DOD, co-lead USAF, USSFF, LIT, host LGBTQ leadership podcast, and you can see Fram has a whopping 598 followers. But here's the thing that offends me. Fram does not have his, her, they's pronouns in his Twitter bio. I don't think this person is doing nearly enough for inclusivity, this national security imperative. How are we going to have national security if you don't even have your pronouns in your Twitter account? As appalling as that may be, let's take a look at the full clip of Fram at the Most Powerful Women's Summit talking about how inclusion's very imperative for national security. You'll love the rationalizations.
So inclusion is a national security imperative. We fight today, and we are going to fight in the future using brain power.
Awesome. We're not using brain power in this speech, but we will be fighting using brain power. What about missiles? What about guns? No, we're just going to use brain power. Telekinesis is where it's at.
And if that brain, who's going to revolutionize the way we fight in space, we fight in cyber, just happens to be in a trans body, you should want them all serving alongside me.
No, cool. If it happens to be in a trans body, of course we would want that brain power used for America's national security. Odds are it won't be in a trans person. Just statistically, there's far more non-trans people than there are trans people, coupled with how a lot of trans folks focus their brain power on making everything about gender. Now you might say, well, JP, making everything about gender, isn't that also imperative to national security? To that, I would just say, I stand corrected.
And for your organizations, it's the same way. Those perspectives that we get from a diverse set of individuals, it's been talked about on stage a lot regarding the science behind high-performing teams. We need those perspectives.
I will agree with something I'm about to say and not agree with Fram for an organization, whether it's the national security or whoever these companies are that he or she's talking to, yes, diversity is important. Inclusion of diversity is important. But diversity of what? Diversity of perspectives is what's important. That's what is actually helpful. But of course, he's trying to suggest, I mentioned the word perspective, but now I'm shifting like diversity of like what your crotch looks like, how mutilated it might be, or just it's different than mine. Like we need a lot of different looking crotches here. We need a diversity of crotches. Cool. Try writing your organization based on that diversity. But if you're doing something that weirdly, successful companies do and successful people, they're very open to a diversity of perspectives. You choose your own adventure on that.
It's inclusion that actually drives that, because you can bring people
Inclusion of perspectives
in, and if they don't feel safe to speak up, if they don't feel safe to bring their full selves to work.
I like now he's talking about safe spaces. Like we're into national security where we will apply violence if necessary in order to uphold national security. But actually what's more important, we gotta have safe spaces for insecure people to feel safe enough to voice their perspectives. I would dare say we need less of a safe space, because guess what? If we have just what's called normal spaces, which this person would probably judge as an unsafe space, normal spaces require people to find enough inner strength and enough inner security to have a voice. Say what you need to say. Yes, we're not in a safe space where everybody's going to be coddled, because if you say something that's dumb relative to the objective, it might be assessed as dumb. You might feel insecure. Guess what? That can be healthy, because that can compel you to think differently, think about better ways, think about better solutions. But in a safe space, that's where everybody gets a first place trophy, no matter how dumb the idea is.
You're not going to get the value of the diversity. So for us, it is absolutely critical to drive our future success as an organization and potentially on the battlefield.
We need the value of diversity. I would love to see that in the balance sheet. I've talked to someone who worked at a company where they had a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. According to this person's firsthand perspective, the value that diversity brought was a literal loss of revenue to the company. They were paying X amount of dollars to their DEI executive and then having to fund the programs that the DEI executive was implementing. And guess how much more revenue that brought in? Precisely zero. In fact, according to this person, it was negative, because instead of employees spending their time doing valuable, productive things, they had to spend some of their time in these DEI protocols. So they were losing value because of this kind of diversity, crotch diversity, gender diversity, instead of investing in diversity of thought. But we need that value of diversity. It takes the value down, but we need that value down diversity. We need that value here in national security.
And I think it's the same way for all of you, because we can't leave that talent that is going to revolutionize the way we do business behind.
No, we absolutely cannot leave the talent behind of someone who self-identifies with their gender or self-identifies with an imaginary gender. That is a talent. Could you imagine if you had access to that talent? That is so much more valuable than the talent someone might have of being able to meet an objective, create solutions, create actual national security. That kind of talent is outdated and unvaluable. But the talent to be diverse in your gender, that is something that is both profitable and secure. And one other thing we can see that is just, I'm sure, not a correlation, even though it highly correlates. The more the military does their diversity thing, you've probably seen the US Navy drag queen recruitment video. I did a reaction video to it. But here's a drag queen trying to recruit people into joining the US Navy. The more the different aspects of the military do that, the lower their recruitment numbers are. And what does that mean to national security? I don't know, but acknowledging the reality of it is probably some level of phobic. So I ain't gonna acknowledge the reality of it because I ain't no phobic. I am not transphobic. I am a little bit stupid phobic. I am also a lot satanic phobic. But that's just me. Hey, thank you, my freedom-loving friend, for taking a look at this rather amusing perspective on what's imperative for national security. I appreciate you, and I think this is a reminder there has never been a better time to do critical thinking and say no to the intimidation of woke culture that's trying to infiltrate and poison everything and absolutely is negatively influencing our national security. Do your own thinking, but hey, that's just what I think. If doing your own thinking doesn't make sense to your thinking, then don't do it. The choice is yours. With that said, I'll see you on our next video. But before that, here's a special message not brought to you by Diversity. What's up, my friend? I want to tell you a little secret about how I use my all-time favorite product out of the Awaken CBD product line, the CBD oil tincture. Because I'm not someone who likes to leave my health, wellness, and how I feel and function on a daily basis to chance. I like to take control of those things, and the CBD oil helps me do it. Here's how I use it. The first thing I do after I finish my workouts is I reach for my good friend, the Awaken CBD oil tincture, so I can start my rest and recovery process immediately. And then in my nightly routine, about an hour before bedtime, I take it again to help promote rest and relaxation. And then a wild card, during the day, if I'm encountering a lot of stress or anxiety, which is not uncommon for me, I reach for it to help me regain a positive frame of mind and feel a little more relaxed. If, like me, you're on a mission to be a sovereign being who is in control of your health and how you feel on a daily basis, you might enjoy the Awaken CBD oil as well. It's organically grown, it comes in full spectrum and broad spectrum options, and the purity and potency is third-party tested to ensure you are getting the absolute best CBD available. If you'd like to bring the Awaken CBD oil tincture into your daily routine as well, just go to awakencbd.com and you'll also get 10% off your first order. Enjoy, my friend.